Mic'd up.
And welcome to another episode of the Jack and Jack podcast. It's been a minute, taking a couple of days off here, and we're back and ready to go. The college basketball season's over. The transfer portal is on. We've got a great UFC card this weekend. We've got a lot of soccer to talk about. It's going to be all over the place today. Super excited for it. I'm Jack Little, along with my man Jack Rosenthal. Jack, are we ready to get into it today?
I'm excited. I'm excited to be back. Been a little bit of a hiatus. Get to talk about the national championship. A lot of other stuff going on. 4 of the UCLA Bruins, your team that you covered there, 4 of them go top 10 in the WNBA draft. A lot of interesting things to talk about. Ready to get into it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with the college basketball situation. We've got the transfer portal kicking on. It's a big day, especially today, for my Kentucky Wildcats, Jack.
Yeah, this portal and big day for you as well. Michigan State, it hurts. Clemson recently making a couple splashes. Michigan State really has tuned in on we need a center, reaching out to everybody. And it just doesn't seem like one of those things that Izzo really has down. I feel like it's like Dabo in football, where it's just like somehow the teams I'm a fan of just don't know how to get it done in the portal. And I mean, Mark Pope has been fantastic at it, and I think he continues like that. And I think that is one of the main things that will help him keep his job is if he's able to go out and get good portal classes and bring back teams every year that you can get excited for. Because if he doesn't do that, I mean, if there's not a lot of hype around Kentucky basketball going into this year, he's in big trouble.
Yeah, I agree with you. And today, Kentucky hosts Rob Wright, Tyron Stokes, and Donnie Freeman, some of the top names in the portal and the top high school recruits. So, a crucial day for Mark Pope's job going forward. A crucial day for all of college basketball as the number one high school recruit is on campus this late in the process. I mean, it's unbelievable that Tyron Stokes has not yet picked a school. Jack, if you were Tyron, would you go to Kentucky? You got a little more money, you got the Nike connections, you're from Kentucky. Or do you go to Kansas to play for Bill Self? A little bit more of a proven coach. You're going to have, Tay Kinney around you, a little more stability there. But Kansas hasn't been to the second weekend in 4 years. What are you thinking?
I think he stays home. I think he's going to go to Kentucky. I think it's a big thing, especially like that number one recruit, where a lot of those guys they're one and done kind of thing. It's like Anthony Edwards going to Georgia for a year. It's kind of a confusing thing. It's like okay, like at all the schools we're picking, but Kentucky's a big blue blood program, and I think he definitely will go there over Kansas. I mean, whatever NIL he gets, probably in the multi-million-dollar range, going to be absolutely ridiculous. His kids will be fine after this year of basketball, but I do think he plays for Big Blue Nation. I think you guys will have a fun team next year.
Yeah, it's looking like Kentucky and Kansas are going to be those final two. Of course, Stokes has leaned Kansas recently. He was ready to commit to Kentucky back in November, and then it kind of fell apart. He's an interesting kid where he doesn't necessarily want everybody to know what he's doing. So he likes the, I don't know, mysteriousness around him. It's a part of his personality. So that's certainly been a factor in his recruitment. So super interested to see because when it happens, I think everybody's gonna be surprised. Whether it's Kansas, Kentucky, hell, it might be somebody else. I mean, you have no idea, but it's certainly going to be interesting to see where Tyron Stokes ends up, and it's going to shake up the college basketball world regardless of where it is. I see a couple questions flowing in now. We'll get to those. Super excited to answer these. Love to have questions on the show. So, just a reminder as well, if this is your first time watching, hit that little star button and you can save the podcast and watch again in the future, and it'll send you a notification when we go live. So, we're working on getting a concrete schedule down. It's kind of a little difficult until we get to kind of the summery months. But for now, it's been just kind of whenever me and Jack can make it work. So, yeah, Jack, let's look at the portal as a whole. Anything surprising to you so far?
Nothing too crazy to be honest. I'm really excited to see where these next couple weeks go because this time, especially when school starts to get out, the semester's over. It's really a lot of summer workouts and people going on visits more often than ever. And I think you mix that in with the new high school recruits as well coming in for summer training camp. You really get to see a mix of teams coming together. So I think over the next month, and especially by the end of June, end of May, we'll really see teams form together. And I'm really excited to see honestly how it goes because right now, I mean, there's a lot of teams that have 2 to 3 players in their roster, even less. And so we'll see those start to clear around 14, 15 players in under a month to 2 months. So it'll be very interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah, a lot of movement going on as well. one of the big uh, news items from yesterday was Louisville landing Flory Badunga and Jackson Shellstad. A big double sweep for Pat Kelsey there in Louisville.
It's I don't like these ACC teams, especially definitely you're not a fan of that. I mean, he was great big man. Yeah, definitely, definitely can't be happy seeing that, and then the in-state rivalry there. But that is huge for him, and especially to have a lot of players go. I think what he's building there is honestly pretty impressive. I mean, that team was on the bottom for a long time after Patino was gone. They haven't really done too much. And now, I mean, I think with the players they're getting now, I mean, Mikael Brown was fantastic last year. And I think the players that they're going to continue to get, and this is a very, very big statement that if you're able to go out and get the top guys in the portal over bigger schools with more NIL money, it really does make a statement that there is a reason why they are going to Louisville. And I think that's going to be very good for the program going forward.
Yeah, for sure. Big swing for Louisville. Yeah, you expect them to be very good again. And this is as a season. You look at the way that they built their roster. Louisville was expected to be a top 10 team, and that didn't happen. And they didn't make it out of the first weekend, which was a little frustrating to those fans. I think who thought that Louisville had some pretty high potential, like a team that could go really deep, and it just did not happen for Louisville. So we'll see how they bounce back this season with Pat Kelsey. He's got kind of in a similar situation to Mark Pope, where it's like a lot of preseason hype. You didn't perform. Now it's like you're in year three. We really expect something to come out of this season. So yeah, I mean the transfer portal also has given us Neo Avdalas to North Carolina. Uh, Looks like Mike Malone's going to really go to that foreign route there at UNC.
Yeah, I mean that's really what it is, becoming more in the pros as well, and you see colleges becoming more pro, and we'll get to one of our questions kind of about that later on in the show. But it really has become a more pro game, and I think Illinois has been an Underwood has been a really big example and exemplifier of that, of how good foreign players can be. And they buy into systems, and that was a real big question. It's, oh, basketball's different over there. Maybe they don't understand the college culture and how everybody is so bought in on a college basketball team. But it really is being more mixed in than ever, and this is a very exciting time. And I think Malone probably does stay over there foreign, and obviously he's going to try to go for the top recruits here. But I think guys who have more experience, especially coaches who have more experience recruiting younger guys in college, have the edge over Malone just because Malone's been a pro coach, never coached in college. So that recruiting aspect really is huge, especially in the college game. And now more than ever, even with the portal, because now you recruit your guy. You used to recruit your guys, you have them for a while, and then you're back in. And it's only a couple guys each year. But now some coaches are having to fill out full teams. Brad Ronell at Clemson has to refill a full roster over the summer. So it's gonna be very interesting to see that, and I'm excited to see what happens with this college portal. And it's we sleep in May here. It's getting to that point. So it was a great season. Obviously, Wolverines they do it, and I didn't think UConn was gonna beat them. Unfortunately, I will have to clip it getting the Final Four prediction right. But it was a great Final Four, some good basketball games, and a very great defensive battle that was. I want to know what your thoughts were on the national championship game.
Yeah, Michigan was just too good. I mean, they were built perfectly, and everybody in the portal this season is going to try to build their team like Michigan was built last year. You're going to try to have enough bigs. You're going to try to have enough guards. You're going to try to have a Lendeborg type. That's the archetype for a successful portal build. And Dusty May has shown us all what it takes to win a national championship with a team out of the portal. So Michigan already kind of getting started. They got JP Estrella from Tennessee, who is exactly the kind of guy who Dusty May is going to like to have. Big, physical, 7-footer. Not only that, he's like got a nice little touch around the rim. He's actually very Mara like, a little shorter than Mara, of course, at 7'1", but he's still a big guy and he's able to score around the rim. So expect Estrella to have a big breakout year in the Big Ten next season.
They're the worst, man. They are the worst, dude. I can't stand it. I mean, it's bad and legitimately, I think, bad for the game of basketball. Overall, I mean, the first team to have all five stars come from the transfer portal. Congratulations, taking nothing away from what Dusty May was able to do at Michigan. And it's very respectable and incredible. And Dusty May's a great guy and a great coach. And all those players, too. Like, I like those guys. I mean, Yaxel, obviously, like, it's hard. Like, and Ignaz Brazdenkis, used to play for Michigan. Mo Wagner, I hated those guys. I didn't hate Yaxel. I didn't hate Yaxel at all. I didn't hate really any of those guys. Cadeau kind of got on my nerves a little bit with the battle between him and Fears. But I think what Michigan's doing is really showing the new age of basketball. And I really, really, really hope that it kind of reverts a little bit. Not we're seeing every team that has a chance is 5 guys from the portal. Because if we start seeing that, then it's just pro basketball. It's not even college. And it's honestly a mixture because you don't even see that in pro. It's like you win, now it's a dynasty. And the Thunder, like you're trying to build programs and teams that stay together for a long time, and you just can't do that. So it is such a weird spot. I honestly have no idea what's going on. But I do know that what Michigan is doing, it upsets me. It upsets me deeply for sure. But it also might be a little salty because we got destroyed this year twice.
Yeah, it's certainly, for all the rivals and all the teams of the Big Ten, it's certainly frustrating to see Michigan kind of put this together like they have. But I look at Florida, right, who won the national championship last season, and they were good again this year, of course, but not really a national title contender, and that's more of what I expect from Michigan next season. Obviously, Cadeau's going to be very good, but when you lose a guy like Lendeborg, and you have to think Mara's going to go pro. I mean, he's certainly capable, and he's 7'3", and he's the right age. I mean, it just feels like he's going to go pro. So you lose Lendeborg and Mara, that's kind of two of your three-headed monster. So I can't imagine that Michigan be able to replace that incredibly easily, especially given the fact that they kind of haven't gone out and pursued some of these top portal guys like they did last year. Of course, Estrella's a great get, but Estrella's not going to make you a national title contender on his own. So a lot still to see from Michigan, a lot still to see from the whole portal. But we're going to pivot to a whole new sport. We've talked a lot about college basketball on this show, but we're going to hit a question and let Jack go into his segment here.
Yo, what's up? I don't really have a specific question, but I was just hoping you guys could talk about the UFC card we just watched this past weekend. Thanks.
All right,
Shout out.
Jack.
All right, Colin, I appreciate that. We're going to jump into the UFC 327 breakdown by yours truly, Jack Rosenthal. We'll start from the top here, Colin. Yuri Prohaska versus Carlos Ulberg. Title fight, interim light or undisputed light heavyweight championship after Alex Pereira goes up, is going to fight Cyril Gane on the White House card. Now, I don't know if you saw the clip, Jack, but Carlos Ulberg, he tore his ACL 2 minutes into the fight. Was on one leg, could barely move. Yuri had a guy wounded animal right in front of him, starts claiming all these mercy things after the fight, walks down with his hands down, gets KO'd in the first round, loses the belt, and loses his big opportunity. And now that makes 3 straight KO losses in title opportunities for Yuri Prohaska. So it's going to be very hard for him to get back. I think it's a very interesting guy to look into. He is a real life samurai. I mean, that guy is crazy. We'll take a look now at the co-main event. Azamat Murzakanov, previously 16-0 versus Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa was 14-0 on a huge rise when he ran into Izzy, the style bender. Got absolutely destroyed over 2 rounds, mauled, finished badly. Kind of had a bad stretch of his career, was losing fights he should have won, but has been in a real career resurgence, beating 2 Russians in a row, Roman Kopylov, a great striker, and then Azamat Murzakanov, who had just KO'd Alexander Rakic in the first round, who's also a fantastic fighter. Costa was a 2-1 underdog in this spot. I actually picked him and put some decent chunk of change on him. But, I mean, he dominated. It was an absolute masterclass in a fight, especially the way Paulo Costa is able to mix in kicks, especially against southpaws, where that whole front is open. And he was able to land body kicks at will, leg kicks, inside leg kicks, and broke his arm actually in that third round. And throughout the second round, broke his arm due to head kicks and was able to ultimately get a head kick KO. We'll take a look now to our featured bout, which I think honestly might have been the greatest heavyweight fight of all time. 3 rounds, Curtis Blades, Josh Hokett. Josh Hokett's got the whole gimmick. It's a crazy thing. You should see it on the internet. A lot of people are not too happy with him. I think it's hilarious. I think it's good for the sport because the heavyweight division has been so dead recently with Tom Aspinall, the champion, being out for so long and John Jones holding up the division. But they landed 351 significant strikes over 3 rounds. That's the most ever for a heavyweight fight in 3 rounds. And that is the third most all time in a fight in over 3 rounds. It was absolutely fantastic. I mean, Hokett flipped him off 9 times throughout the fight. I mean, it was incredible. He'd land some shots, flip him off, and just go back and forth. I mean, they were throwing the entire time. Hokett ultimately wins 29-28, unanimous decision. He lost that first round, got it back in the second and third. But I mean, man, that is a rewatch that everybody, even if you're not a UFC fan, that is pure cinema, entertainment, whatever you want to call it. That was everything that UFC fans want, which is the complete opposite of our next fight right before that, which was Johnny Walker versus Dominic Reyes. These two guys, both known for knockouts, also both known for glass chins. They go down really easily. So everybody was expecting the first guy to land is going out. And both those guys kind of knew that because, especially in the UFC, when there's guys, sometimes people get so bought into, oh, these are big name events. This is going to be the best fight ever. But in reality, when the UFC is built on 2 contracts per fighter, you have your fight check and your win check. And once you start to work your way up the ranks and your checks get bigger and bigger, you do not want to sacrifice that huge 50% of your check just to try to get a knockout. And both of these guys are at the stage where they win 2 to 3 more fights. They're back in the title picture. And this was just one of those times where, man, both guys were just so scared to throw, so scared to really do anything. And it was a hard watch, to be honest. I mean, that fight was supposed to not even get out of the first round. Went 3 rounds, barely any shots thrown. I mean, I couldn't really tell. It looked like it was a Reyes win. It was a Reyes win by unanimous decision, but it wasn't a definitive win at all. It was not really anything impressive, and especially for Dominic Reyes, who's a former title challenger, probably should have been better than that. We'll look at the last fight on our main card, the opener. Cub Swanson, absolute legend, versus Nate the Train Landwehr. Cub Swanson dominates, first round KO, goes out, puts his gloves down, storybook ending. And the UFC is and mixed martial arts in general is one of those sports where it is so hard to get a storybook ending because usually you're on the end of your career, you can't really fight the same at all. And this was an even money fight. I mean, this was not too favorable matchup for Cub Swanson. I thought his striking and takedown defense obviously was going to be able to do enough, but I did not expect him to beat him this much over 4.5 minutes. We can move on now, but ultimately, I thought that was a fantastic main card for the UFC. I think that was a great card for the sport. And Tatsuro Taira versus Joshua Van for the flyweight championship was supposed to be the co-main event to this, has been moved to UFC 328 in New Jersey. So we will touch on that when that happens. That's a great fight. Very interesting to see. Josh Van won the title via weird TKO, not really a TKO. The champ, Alexander Pantoja, who had been there for so long at a bunch of title defenses, fell down, broke his arm. 26 seconds, Van celebrates like he's the new champ, which he is now. Tatsuro Taira, great Japanese fighter, one of the best they've ever had. Very interesting grappling and striking mix that he can bring in. Van, great striker. Very excited to see that matchup, as well as Hamza Chimaev versus Sean Strickland, which they've already brought in more security. That fight is going to be a barn burner. Very crazy. So we'll see, but very exciting stuff. And the UFC really does get crazy over the summer. That's their main season. So me as a diehard UFC fan, I'm very excited.
And then what's on the card this weekend?
Upcoming this weekend, we'll take a look right now, and I'll give a breakdown. I'll give some predictions. Some predictions as well. I think this next main event is going to be Gilbert Burns versus Mike Malott. So not too interesting of a fight, to be completely honest with you. That is, Gilbert Burns is really on the downfall of his career. I mean, he was a great fighter, former title challenger, lost to Kamaru Usman, who was, in my opinion, one of the GOATs at welterweight. Fought him very close, dropped him in the first minute of the fight. Usman ends up coming back, knocking him out in the second round. And Burns really had a great fight against Hamza Chimaev as well, but he's kind of been slowly declining. Just got TKO'd in the first round against Michael Morales, who's actually a fantastic fighter. Mike Malott, he's an all right fighter. I mean, he's had some good wins, some all right wins in his career. He beat Kevin Holland most recently, who's a very fun fighter, but he kicked him in the nuts, and Kevin Holland was down for 5 minutes and could barely even fight. And then he lost to Neil Magny in Canada. He's a Canadian fighter. He lost to Neil Magny in Canada. This fight is in Winnipeg. They're giving him another chance on his home soil to try to redeem himself. You see this a lot in the UFC, where you have guys who come from different countries outside of obviously like the United States, different countries, and you really try to build them up in their own area. They'll do English fight nights, go to England, and they'll really put a lot of English fighters on to try to and give them favorable matchups to try to build their brand and try to make them bigger stars, to give them bigger fights. And so this is exactly what this is. This is a setup fight against my man Gilbert Durinho Burns. Really, honestly, unfortunate that it is the fight they give him, because Malott is not a great, but it's not the best matchup for him either. The co-main of that is Kyle the Matrix Phillips versus Charles Air Jourdain. I actually am very excited for that fight. Kyler Phillips is fast. That guy is fast, but he lacks cardio. He'll come out in the first round and start trying to batter him. And if Jourdain can weather the storm, I see a late finish for Jourdain. I mean, Jourdain has great striking, pretty good grappling defense as well. Some nice submissions. He had a nice flying knee into a guillotine in his last fight, which was pretty sick, against Davey Grant, who's a pretty respectable veteran, to be honest. And so that fight will be interesting to see. And I'm curious to see the odds on that fight, because I'm really not sure what it's going to be, because that really is an interesting fight. And the rest of the card is quite literally could not tell you most of these guys on here. This is just one of those filler fights that the UFC will do. Will those put a bunch of guys on, just clearing cards because they do have to do a certain number of events under this new Paramount contract where they have to keep doing events. And a lot of times, what they've been doing, where they stack pay per views, and they've also obviously put aside 14 fighters for the UFC White House event, and then following that is July 3rd, I believe, is going to be International Fight Week, which is their another big card where they'll have a lot of big fighters on that. So these kind of cards at the beginning of the summer, these fight nights especially, are really tough to pick up really deep cards. So we'll see what happens this weekend. We'll recap it next week. But I'm very excited. I'll restate it again. This is a great time to be a UFC fan, and even a better time to get into the UFC because the dog days is the dog days of sports. Not a lot of things are on. A lot of baseball, but even watching baseball every day kind of gets repetitive. They play 162 games, so it's kind of interesting there. So I think as anybody who's watching this, you as well should 100% try and dig into this UFC and MMA in general because it is really a glorious sport.
Well, we love it. We love the passion from Rosenthal right there. That's our UFC segment. We're going to be bringing that pretty much every week now. We'll tinker with it a little bit, put it in different parts of the show, but we appreciate that question right there, getting us right into it and letting Jack go, man. That's what we love to hear. Let's hit our next question as well, and this one's a really interesting one from James.
How's it going, boys? I had a quick question about the WNBA. I know you're going to be talking about other stuff, but AZ Fudd goes number 1 to Dallas. Rep in Arlington. Shout out AZ Fudd. Gets to join former teammate Paige Beckers. And they got a little bit of history together, if you know what I'm saying. So I just want you to talk about the impact you think AZ is going to have in Dallas and them teaming up together.
Yeah, so they're still dating, I believe.
They are.
What is your thoughts on allowing a star player for a team? Obviously they're dating. This is a little bit of a different situation, but when I think of a situation like this, I go to Joe Burrow taking Jamar Chase. Because he was not the consensus pick at that point. It was Devontae Smith at Alabama, and they took Chase over him because Burrow's like, that's my guy. I want Chase. Right. And so this is a similar situation with Dallas taking AZ Fudd, who I don't think is the number one pick in this draft. I think there's a couple players that probably should go above her. But the fit is perfect, right? Because of Paige. And you have these two players that work so well together. And for Cincinnati, that's really worked out. Is this a situation where you see that kind of going the same way?
I do, and shout out Arlington as well. Get to watch. I mean, my former trainer and good friend Tony Johnson trained her from a very young age. Worked with her, and I mean, she was playing when I was in 7th grade playing basketball. She was playing a year up on our boys team, dominating 25 a game. Watching her go 35 a game as a freshman at St. John's College High School. But she hurt her leg 3 to 4 times, season-ending injuries. So she now is coming out of college at 23 years of age. So definitely a little older for a prospect, but she is one of, if not the best women's shooter I've ever seen outside of Caitlin Clark. She has an absolute laser, and she can knock it down from anywhere. She's a good help defender as well. She knows how to communicate, and obviously she works very well with Paige. I think she'll fit seamlessly into the Dallas offense. And if you can shoot the ball like she can, you can fit anywhere in a basketball court. They will find room for you. If you have an open three and you will knock it down, they'll make room for you. I think maybe a little overstepping as the number 1 pick. I think you're right with the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase comparison, absolutely. But I do think it makes sense. And obviously, Paige should be able to call the shots. I mean, she's an incredible player. And what she's been able to do as a rookie, I mean, she overshadowed Caitlin Clark last year. It was incredible. We thought nobody was going to be able to do that. When Caitlin Clark came into the league, and I have actually a follow up question for you on this, but I mean, when she came into the league, her, Angel Reese, whatever, and the whole thing, but nobody thought anybody was going to be able to overshadow Caitlin. Obviously, not really because the ticket numbers and all the things and the jersey sales that Caitlin really is still number 1. But on the basketball court, Paige Beckers was better. And so another question I have for you is how do you feel about that, as well as Angel Reese traded for more first-round picks than Luka Doncic? Talk to me.
Well, here's the thing with Atlanta, and actually Brittany Griner has now left, but there was a period there for like a couple of days where I think that the Atlanta Dream had 3 players on their roster that the average sports fan could have named in the WNBA. And I think having that, so that's Ryan Howard, that's Angel Reese, that's Brittany Griner. Obviously, Brittany Griner now has left, but you still have Angel Reese, who I would argue her and Caitlin Clark are the two biggest names in the sport for reasons both on the court and off. Angel Reese in Atlanta is like a match made in heaven. That is so perfect, especially for that dream fan base. Perfect. Great move. They had to overpay for her, which they certainly did. But when you're in the WNBA and you're trying to make money, having Angel Reese is more worth it than having maybe an extra draft pick. It's better for them financially to have Angel Reese and be okay than to not have Angel Reese and be bad. Or sorry, and be good. So like even if they're the best team in the WNBA and they didn't have Angel Reese or nobody marketable, it's not that interesting. They don't get as much money. But because they've got Angel Reese now, they'll get more money. More people are going to go to the games. More people are going to pay attention. More people follow her on socials. More people follow the Dream on socials now. It's a brilliant move by the Atlanta Dream. And for a city that has had not that many great sports moves in Atlanta, maybe one of the better GM front office decisions coming out of the city of Atlanta in quite some time.
I absolutely agree with you. I think it absolutely makes a lot of sense, especially with the new agreements in the WNBA where the contracts go way up and their teams are really back against the wall here now to make money because obviously they've been collecting the check from the NBA to keep the league running, and now that check's going to be a lot bigger. And so now it's really on these players to kind of cash those checks with the marketing. I agree. I think obviously Chicago, big market as well. I think Atlanta fits kind of near closer to LSU and kind of more down south. And I agree with you. I think it really is a match made in heaven here.
Yeah, I think for sure. And then, Jack, let's pivot a little bit more from basketball onto the soccer pitch across the pond. Arsenal takes a loss to Bournemouth this weekend. Man City rapidly approaching. It looked at one point like Arsenal was going to win the quadruple, and now it looks like they may go trophyless. What are your thoughts there?
I've been watching a little bit. I saw they lost 2-1 this weekend, which really shocked me. I mean, Pep is fully confident right now in City that they can come back and do it. Arsenal definitely has a leg up, and Pep was speaking about this weekend. This game between Arsenal and Man City really could be the decider for the league. Now, obviously, any team could slip up, lose a point here or there, but this game this weekend really is a big one, and I'm excited to see it. Honestly, I mean, I love Man City. Obviously, I don't love the whole thing that they stand for and all the money that they be getting in from the Saudis and how they kind of buy in their teams. But I like dynasties and I like fun teams. And guys like that are really good to get you to buy in. And me, I would consider myself more of a casual soccer fan than really a diehard. And those teams that have those big marketable players that score a lot of goals and they're very exciting are very fun to watch, and especially a very recognizable coach like Pep. I think they definitely could track Arsenal down. I don't think they will, but I think this would really be an Arsenal who's had so much trouble with being able to hold on and win in the recent times. This would just be, I mean, horrific, horrific, the worst thing that could have happened. Because I mean, a month ago, this was over, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
It absolutely was. It's unbelievable how Arsenal has completely changed as a team since the cup final against City. They lost to City in that cup final, and the confidence just has been shot since then. It's like, oh, we didn't get the quadruple. Well, I guess it's over. I mean, it's so interesting to see because Arsenal was on such a great trajectory, and then all of a sudden it's just like kind of falling off, and now you're looking at a situation where if they don't get a point off City, it's very likely that they're not going to win the league after being runaway favorites all year. I mean, it's the elephant in the tree. Like we've heard that for years with Arsenal. They're just going to fall out of the top, and it looks like it might happen again to Arsenal. They're still alive in the Champions League, but nobody's beating Bayern or PSG, and even Barcelona's probably better than Arsenal right now. I think Arsenal will get past Sporting thanks to a favorable draw, but it is not smooth sailing there. So they need to win the Premier League, and if they don't get a point off of City, which I don't think they will, based on how they're playing. City just dismantled Chelsea, and Arsenal really struggled against Bournemouth. They're just a couple of weeks removed from a draw with Wolves at the bottom of the table. I mean, just not going how Mikel Arteta wanted this season to go here at the back half. It was so great until all of a sudden it wasn't. But certainly very interesting. And then right next to them, they're in North London. We've got Tottenham in the relegation zone, 32 games in.
I mean, truly fascinating too. One year removed from winning the Europa League. I mean, we watched that game together at the beer station in Madrid, and incredible. 1 year away from a 1-0 victory there. that now they have fallen to being relegation zone. I mean, you go from the top, not the top, obviously Champions League, but that's a big trophy for them who had been trophyless for so long, and such a pinnacle moment for them, just to not even 365 days later being in such a troubling spot. And this would be not only horrific for their fans and their club, but obviously if you get relegated, I mean, your TV deal goes down so much and players don't want to play for you anymore. And it could not only impact next season, but many seasons after that as well when you drop. So I'm shocked to see it. I mean, before we really talked about it, I wasn't really too like, oh my, like they may be, and I was thinking like, oh, there's no way they're actually gonna get relegated. But now with just 6 match days left, they are in real trouble. Do you think it's gonna be finalized, or do you think they're gonna be able to stay in the Premier League?
Well, normally with these big clubs, you're like, oh yeah, sure, they're in the relegation zone, but like, they'll get out. And you look at the teams around them. Leeds won today at United. West Ham destroyed Wolves 4-0. And then, you look at Spurs. Spurs don't look very good. They don't look like a team that wants to stay up. They look like a team that thinks they're pretty good, and then they go out there and play and they lose. I mean, it's just not a team that's going to scrap to stay up. I mean, getting out of a relegation fight is a battle. It is a war. Every game, you have to give it your all because you have to die to stay up. Because these other clubs, they are. These other clubs that are used to this, they know. Spurs doesn't know. Spurs just kind of keeps thinking, oh, we'll beat Wolves and then we'll pick up another win and we'll get out. That might not be enough. 6 points might not be enough through the last 6 games. And I don't know that I see more than they probably will beat Wolves, but the way that they're playing, that's not a guarantee. So you've got 6 games left, and I don't know that I even see 6 points for Spurs. I mean, it is a tough situation there in North London, and they have way too much money invested in that club and in that stadium to go down to the championship. It would be a financial disaster. They'd have to sell the whole club. Everybody would be gone. It's a complete restart for Spurs. I'm sure De Zerbi wouldn't be there. I know he just said that he would, but I can't imagine they would hold on to him. I mean, it is going to be chaos if Spurs go down. One of the big six, and really the big six with the least success, so the least surprising to go down. But if it happened, you know how many Americans are Spurs fans? It
A
is a
lot.
big chunk of American fans root for Spurs because of Clint Dempsey when he played there. So there's a lot of American Tottenham fans, and if they go down, it's a big chunk of revenue going out the window for the Premier League. So the league will not want that to happen. Spurs certainly won't want that to happen. But it's looking more and more every day like it's going to happen. They just keep not playing like a team that is in a relegation scrap. They look like a team that is in about 12th that has nothing to play for. It's unbelievable. So certainly just a terrible run of form for Spurs. And really for the first time last weekend, I thought, oh, this Spurs team might be going down. But they didn't even look like they cared. I mean, it's just unbelievable that we're talking about Spurs in a relegation fight, and then Arsenal at the top of the league. I mean, it's that 10 years ago, 8 years ago, when Spurs looked like, oh, this is a new dynasty with Son and Kane and Eriksson and Moussa Dembele and Alderweireld Vertonghen. I mean, great players for Spurs. Those guys are all gone, and now they're in this situation where you are desperate to stay up, and I don't know if the players are. So we'll see. They've got 6 more games to prove it. They probably will stay up. If I had to guess right now, I'm going to say, surprisingly, I think Spurs are going down.
Well, that, I mean, it really would be, as you were saying, a financial disaster for that club. And the Premier League, we'll see how that goes. Very interesting league. And it's very fun, too, right? Because you get to play every team twice, 38 match days, not like a lot of other leagues really do that in the way where it's kind of the 3 point scoring. It's really, and a lot of American fans really buying into it, too, and becoming new fans. The Premier League, fantastic. Also, the Champions League. I have a question for you. Barca versus Atletico Madrid. Barca somehow off Kubarsi red card early in the first half, down 2-0 on now. They're playing at the Metropolitano. Do you think, on the legs of Lamine Yamal, who might be the best football in the world right now, do you think that they can erase a 2-0 deficit in Madrid?
Jack, have you been to the Metropolitano? I can't remember if you went last year or not.
I missed it, man. I was jealous of when you were there, seeing the pictures and all that stuff. I was not there, but I have driven by it while there was a game going on, and it was deafening. It was
Yeah.
deafening. It was
And
deafening.
they whistle so loud. They hate the officials. That place is a fortress. It is a hard place to play. So you've got Barcelona down 2-0 trying to go in there. They've got to win by multiple goals, and their defense is absolute Swiss cheese for Barcelona. So, you're looking at Alvarez against Barcelona's high line, back line that has not been effective this year for a lot of. I mean, their team has been effective because they've scored so many goals, but their backline has not been effective. They've given up a lot. They've gotten a lot of red cards, just like Kubarsi's in that game. I look at that game in the Metropolitano and I think, man, Simeone is smiling ear to ear with this one. He's like, "Oh, I get to sit back and make it miserable. We're gonna be at home. We're gonna park the bus. They're gonna boo. It's gonna be fantastic." That's exactly what Simeone wants. Barcelona's going to be playing with those whistles in their ears all game. I think that Barcelona will win the game, but I do not think they will win the two-legged tie. I think that Atletico Madrid will get at least a one-goal win and head on in the Champions League and knock out Barcelona. I do think that the Couleurs are capable of getting there, but I think that Atleti, with the way that they play, just going to be very difficult to try to come back in the Metropolitano.
Definitely gonna be very interesting. I have another kind of follow up question on that. My good friend Luke Aldi's diehard Barca fan was talking to him about the game. He believes that if Madrid comes out and Atletico comes out immediately and parks the bus, that Lamine, Rafinha, Lewa, all those guys will be able to get through that defense and put a couple up, and that they will win if they park the bus immediately. Now, he also said that if they kind of attack and they're on them early and maybe they get one early, but they're applying a lot of pressure, it's going to be really tough. But do you think that if they park the bus immediately, Barca will be able to score and eventually take the win?
Well, I think if Atleti does not score in the tie, they're going to have a lot of problems. Barcelona will likely get at least 2 goals. I think that's got to be expected. It's just that even if Atleti parks the bus, I still think they can score. That high line is not effective. I mean, again, I called it Swiss cheese. I'm standing by that. I mean, it is a loose back line, and there's a lot of errors that happen back there. There's a lot of opportunities for Alvarez to slip through. I expect Atleti to get a goal, at least one. And so when that happens, now Barcelona's got to score 3 goals at the Metropolitano. I don't think that's going to happen. So I see what he's saying, right? If Atleti does not have any semblance of an attack, they're going to have a lot of problems. Of course, of course. But if they can defend decently, just decently, and then have some attack, right? Get a couple of chances. If they get 4 chances, probably going to score one of those, and you likely win the tie. So that's what I expect from that one.
This gonna be a very interesting game, and the Champions League is just so electric. I love the premise, the two legs. I mean, watching all those games. I mean, Arsenal versus Real Madrid. We were watching those games. I mean, no, when Declan Rice hit both those free kicks. I mean, it's the passion that people have. I mean, they were stunned, and especially like the Derby too, the cross city match where people are throwing beers and they're up on the tables chanting after the games. Just the passion, everything in it. It really has been kind of a new love for me getting into it more. And I think it's just a great event and a very exciting tournament. And this is a great time to have it too, right? I mean, we get the NBA playoffs coming up, you get the Champions League coming up. This is kind of a time where the sports are starting to wind down, get into those dog days. And I think it's a great time and a great time for soccer, especially because as soon as that's done, we hop into what a lot of people think, and I honestly definitely might be the greatest sporting event in the world, which is the World Cup. Who do you think brings home the World Cup this year?
Well, I'll be there. I'll be in Mexico covering it for the AP. Super excited to do that. So it's going to be whole lot of fun there in the couple of cities that I'll be able to visit Mexico. But you look at the rosters and the kind of the success recently. I think, of course, Spain and France are going to be your two overwhelming favorites. But outside of that, I don't think that Brazil is going to have a great run this year. I just don't think they have the team. I do think that we're going to get some like sneaky run from. I can't tell who it is yet, like Mexico, Colombia, maybe maybe one of those other South American countries, Paraguay. I can't really tell yet, but I think one of those South American countries is going to make a deep run in this thing, and include the United States in that, by the way, because I'm saying that the fans are going to kind of carry them deep, and I think there's a lot of Hispanic fans in the U.S., and so that's why I'm thinking those countries and maybe the U.S. I hope the U.S. Are able to make a deep run in this thing. But expect Spain, expect France, and I'm still an England believer. I just believe in the talent with England. They're probably not in the top two. I think Spain and France are definitely the top two. But then outside of that, I like England to advance far in this tournament once again, and maybe just maybe bring it home. I think for that country just to get one, and I thought they were going to get it in the Euros, both of the last two times. I thought it would finally happen for them, and it kind of hasn't. And so now I look at this World Cup and I'm like, this is really the last of the great Harry Kane that you're going to get. Maybe one more tournament. You kind of need to do it now if you're going to do it. It's kind of the last gasp. So I think this England team has the ability to do it. We'll see if Tuchel can get them there. But yeah, if I had to pick today, I'd pick Spain.
I think it's a good pick for sure. It is gonna be a very interesting tournament. I mean, England has had they got to the final last time in the Euros, and they've had a lot of good teams with a lot of talent. I think obviously Spain and France. I think a team that's getting underlooked a lot is Argentina. I mean, they've won their last three major tournaments. They won the Copa twice. They won the last World Cup. They've really been dominant, and I think this is one of the better teams they've had around Messi for sure, talent wise at least. Obviously, this is definitely the last go for Messi, really. I think the three of them, I agree with you on the take that I don't think Brazil really has it this year. I just think the team that they have just doesn't have enough firepower. But I think England, Argentina, France, Spain, those could be your final four. I like your call on the South American team. Colombia's always game. I mean, they made it to the final of the Copa last time. And I think that we could get another James resurgence. That would be very fun to see. So I think it's also a great event too, especially for people who don't watch too much soccer, especially now it being in the U.S., which is just so good for the sport in general. Obviously, it's the biggest sport worldwide, and it dominates everywhere. But in the U.S., it is not that dominant. Obviously, in the youth, it's dominant. But I mean, it shows really with the U.S. teams never really winning anything. And I think this event, bringing it to the United States, especially with how big social media is, it'll be everywhere. I mean, it is going to be on every corner, on everybody's phones. Everybody will know that this tournament's going on. People who don't even care about sports will know that this World Cup is going on in the United States. So I am very, very excited. Now, I was looking at some ticket prices and I really want to attend a game. So you might have to give me a little media hookup here. But I mean, these prices are incredible, dude. They're incredible. I mean, it is, and you're sometimes like before you could buy tickets, you don't even know who's playing, and you're paying $1,000. You're paying $1,000 on the chance, hoping that you get two good teams, just one good team. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I mean, that's the United States for you, man. Everything's just so overpriced, and tickets are absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I remember I was driving with my friend, and we are going from Ole Miss to Tuscaloosa for the Alabama Georgia game. They were 2 versus 3 when Ryan Williams with a 75-yard touchdown, and we were looking for tickets, and we ended up paying $800 a pop to get in there. I mean, granted, we definitely did overpay a little bit because we did sit in a pretty good location. I do say it was worth every penny. I'm a big sports guy. I love watching great games. That was a great game. But it goes back to the main point that, man, it is expensive to get into these stadiums, which makes it less accessible. But I think with the social media presence, this will be very, very, very good for the sport of soccer. My pick, I think Spain's going to bring it home. I think Lamine Yamal, I mean, that guy's the best. He's 18 years old. When I was 18, I was 5'3", 100 pounds, couldn't even lift the bar. This dude's the best player in the world. And
It's racist.
it's crazy. I mean, have you seen the videos where somebody will be sitting at a table in the middle, they'll say some take, and there's like 30 people around, and they'll say go, and the people will run up and like try to debate you on whatever. I mean, a lot of politicians, like people who talk about politics do it, and a lot of people do it. There was one where the guy's take was Lamine Yamal is the best football in the world, and nobody moved. Not one person moved. And this kid's 18 years old. It really is astonishing for what he is doing. And I could not be more excited, honestly, for this World Cup.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And there's way more games as well, which is what people are kind of overlooking. Some of the quality of some of the games might be a little lower. You get some pretty bad teams like Uzbekistan and actually Uzbekistan's not even that bad. But you get some like Curacao and like Cape Verde and stuff like that, which are just they're gonna be horrible. But it's still gonna be a lot of fun because you got the World Cup going on. You got way more games, way more cities, way more people that can get involved. I think those ticket prices will come down when we get a little closer to the games, especially those really terrible games like Cape Verde playing against anybody. I mean, if they're playing, it's not worth watching. I mean, they're so bad. Unless you're from there or you have some like connection to them or you're Aussie Albies or something with Curacao, it makes no sense at all to go and watch some of these games. But Certainly going to be very, very cool to see the big games, and then once you get to the round of 16 and the that and beyond, it's going to be spectacular. There's going to be so many good games, and super excited for this World Cup. Think it's going to be a much better event than what a lot of people are saying it's going to be now. People are like, "Oh, it's the U.S. They're going to ruin it and stuff." They just hate us. It's so annoying. They just can't stand the United States for no reason. So hopefully that sentiment goes away and we have a spectacular tournament this summer.
I agree. I mean, people do really hate the United States. It's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, we both saw it when we were gone in Madrid. No matter what country you go to, there is something bad that somebody has to say about America. Whether it be Trump or the way we operate, or people say, oh, like the eating, like all these different things, all American people, like all these different. It's just crazy. Everybody has something to say.
Oh,
And I think, and that's why I get really happy when we go to the Olympics and we dominate in these sports where it's like, okay, like the US is here. And obviously, like there are definitely some things about the country that people do not like, but that doesn't affect the World Cup. It's a sport, it's soccer games. And there's no reason why people should be saying that the US is going to ruin. It's the same field. It's the same field. Obviously, there's definitely different ways to go about it. And people have had trouble with host cities before messing it up. But I just think with the infrastructure and the amount of money that the US can and will put into this, I think there's no way. I think there's no way that they go wrong with this. I think there's too many cool venues because when it was in Qatar, I mean, they had to make venues, and like those venues, like they're gone now. They aren't used for anything. These are all existing venues that generate a lot of money, and they run many events in them a year. So it's not going to be a new thing where these game day operations aren't good. There's going to be no trouble there. It's going to be smooth sailing. They've already done a lot of preparation. Security is going to be top notch. Obviously, I think it's going to run very smoothly. And I think it's going to be a great tournament. We can take a look at we can switch gears if we want. Take a look at our final question here. But I mean, I'm very excited for this tournament.
I am too. We'll have a whole lot more on the World Cup in the coming weeks. All right, let's get to our final question from Bruce. We'll go through this one pretty quickly and then wrap it up.
I'd like to know your take on the fact that a college head coach on a baseball team is now managing the San Francisco 49ers. A head coach for a college team who has no experience at all coaching Major League Baseball is now coaching Major League Baseball. And could you give me an idea of what you think of that?
Yeah, so he's
So
talking about Tony Vitello, who is at the San Francisco Giants. I think he said the 49ers, but he meant
yeah, he met Giants. Yeah.
I mean, if they had a Tony Vitello coaching the Giants or the Niners, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that.
Absolutely.
But they've got him coaching the Giants, and it's one of those things where in baseball they kind of think, oh, you can't hire someone out of college baseball because college baseball is bad, and that's just like the kind of the consensus around college baseball. Of course, we both go to schools with very good college baseball teams and a lot of people that care. So it's a little bit different for us. Like I feel like I have a lot of respect for college baseball, but certainly a lot of these pro guys do not. And so Tony Vitello now at San Francisco, do you think he does well there?
I really hope he does, and I think he definitely has a chance. I mean, he's the first coach to ever do this with no prior experience, going straight up to the major leagues and in the head manager position here. And I think what they have over there, I mean, Buster Posey being the head man there, obviously a legend. I think what they have, they're definitely a winning organization previously. I mean, they have 3 early 2010 titles, and they're a very winning franchise. And I think when you have that backing, you can win. And I think it's definitely a very interesting thing that this is what's happening now. And I think it's how college sports is now. College sports and pro sports. There's a lot of mixture now, and you can't really tell which is which kind of with UC Malone with UNC. And there's a lot of crossover now. College sports, the NIL are becoming more pro sports. So I think this is going to be a bigger trend of coaches kind of rotating between the two sports just because there is a lot more similarity now and parity than there ever has been. But I do believe and I do really hope that this is a good hire because it's always nice to see a guy like the first of something. And there's been a lot of firsts recently. And I think the first guy to come with no prior experience, be a head coach in the MLB and do well would be a great story. And I think, I mean, obviously he's won at Tennessee. So I think it'd be a very cool thing to see and a unique thing to see. And I think it'd be good for the sport of baseball overall. and definitely really good for the sport of college baseball in general, because it would give a lot of credit if a coach is able to come in from college, win in the pros when nobody's respecting, like you're saying, nobody's really giving the respect that college baseball deserves, and they come in and win. It's like, okay, now it's time to put some respect on our names, and really now that belief will be there that a lot of coaches can come from that lower level, come straight up to the pros and be a head coach and win. So it's very interesting, and I want to hear your take on it as well.
Yeah, you look at college sports. I think actually you hit it on the head. You said that college sports and pro sports, that line is blurring between the two of them. So Tony Vitello has assembled rosters with money. He has put these teams together. He's won games. He's won College World Series games. He's won series. He's done it all. So at some point, the guy can coach, right? Like we love to do this. We're like, oh, he's got no major league experience. He doesn't know how to wear all this stuff. Winning games is winning games, right? And what do you want him to do? Do you want him to go to the minors? Like, why would he go coach in the minors as opposed to coaching at Tennessee? Like, it doesn't, that makes no sense, right? So it's, if he's ever going to go up to that next level, it's going to be to the MLB. And I understand why San Francisco would give him a chance. He's a likable guy. He's got a great personality. That you bring him in, these guys are going to love him. They'll get around him. And being a manager in baseball, I think, is a lot about locker room or, clubhouse culture and all that kind of stuff. So it's a guy that knows how to coach. It's a guy that knows how to build culture. I think he's a great fit.
I agree. I think that's a great take for sure. It's gonna be very interesting to see what happens. And and the MLB is a long season, and they play a lot of games, and so it's definitely. I think he'll get a lot of adjustment period. I mean, you play so many games in so many days, or in so few days, and it just all goes so fast, and especially in Knoxville, where it's a smaller stadium and you can kind of work with that crowd being sold out basically every game. I think you're gonna definitely have to work around there being less attendance at a lot of these games. I mean, I was talking to somebody who works up in Minnesota for baseball, and the Twins, they played 19 home games in 25 days in April when it's still cold up there. And so there's 5,000 people in the stadium, and it's kind of hard to really, I mean, obviously the crowd plays a factor in that. Baseball may be a little less than other sports, but even then it does. And I think be able to adjust to that with a much bigger sport with a lot more eyeballs on you, I think that'll definitely take some adjusting. But I think if you're able to win and you know what it takes to win, and again, like you hit it on the head as well, know what it takes to win and to build culture. It's so important. And for those two reasons, again, I do believe he will do well.
Well, thank you to everybody that tuned in and submitted some questions. We love to have questions. So we're trying to get these kind of posted a little earlier. We posted this one late so that it gives you more time to get some questions in. So if you enjoyed the podcast, please give us a heart on the Mic'd Up app. If you're listening on Spotify or wherever else you may be listening, give us a follow. Give us a subscribe on the YouTube. We've got an Instagram and a TikTok coming up soon. We're going to be chopping up clips and throwing them up there. So we appreciate it. Super excited to keep this thing rolling. So make sure to tune in. And we have really enjoyed doing this so far. So excited for more to come.
Do it. Thank you guys. Thank you, Jack. And we'll see you in the next one.